Okay, welcome to episode 3 of Buffy Boys. I'm Joel.
I'm Brian.
And this is episode 3, which was recorded very soon after the other episodes, and it hasn't been months at all.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what they say is that when you're starting a project, if it takes really slow at the beginning, it usually picks up and gets really good afterwards.
Yeah,
start as you mean to not proceed. Start as you are going to, start really badly and you only only be able to go up. It'll be great.
Exactly. So the episode we are talking about today is the third episode of season 1 of Buffy, Which one? Which? Yes.
Oh.
And this is the first, there's a few firsts in this episode, but it's one of the first, I suppose, not part of the initial pilot hour and kind of going into the episodic kind of non-vampire related Buffy content. So as is our long-standing tradition, Brian, would you like to give us a summary of what happened in this episode?
You see, I'm worried that these aren't going to work because I'm terrified of doing a bad job of this. So while I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, remember what happens. But at the same time, that episode had a lot of scenes.
It did. It was one of those TV episodes that has scenes in them.
And I don't know if I can remember them all, actually. So, yeah, that's going to be a problem this time.
Just give me your stream of consciousness on it.
Okay. So, Xander has a boner through the whole episode, is what I remember. They see Amy. They're trying out for, I was going to say a podcast, but I meant the cheerleading squad. They try for the cheerleading squad. That's cool. A girl goes on fire. That girl is on fire. And then Alicia Keys would sing it. Maybe that boy's bottom. Then they announce who's on the squad, and they're like, it's witchcraft. And then they're like, then Cordelia gets really confused and goes blind, and even though she's gone blind, only partially refuses to drive a car, and then wanders out and gets killed on the street. And then they're like, it's Amy, clearly, because all the signs have been pointing towards her. And they're like, okay, let's spill this sulfuric acid on her. It's gonna be great. And they do that and she goes blue, but then she gets rid of a girl's mouth, and then they're like, that's not good. And then Buffy goes crazy and sings Macho Man, and I don't like the implication that singing, oh my god,
that's our demonic cat in the background.
Yeah, one of our demonic cats. I don't like the implication that singing Macho Man makes you crazy, because all gays do that.
Well, she is on ecstasy, so I suppose it matters.
Clearly. And then Buffy fucks a person across the room, which is great. And then they go to confront Amy, and it's her mom.
Dun, dun, dun.
And they go around her attic, and there's a cat. And then they go to the school for some reason to perform a magic thing. I'm not sure why they didn't just do it there. And then the bodies get swapped of Amy and her mother back again, and her mother blasts herself out of existence with a mirror. And there's some dramatic irony at the end. That's what I remember.
Great. I think just one question for our listeners who will be watching Buffy for the first time, or maybe experiencing it for the first time through this podcast. A question which may be relevant to your synopsis. Who is Amy?
Amy's Willow's friend.
Yes.
From when they're in middle school. But this is the first appearance of her, and she's in she's in season 7, I think, right?
She's in
she's definitely in season 2 and 3. And she appears briefly in season 5.
Yeah.
And then she appears in season 6 loads. I feel like she appears in season 7 too.
And she is a major character in the comics, which are obviously non-canon on this podcast, but which I know a depressing amount about. Yeah, so this is I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it.
This is the best episode so far this season.
Straight off, because obviously the first couple of episodes are 2 parts of the opening pilot, and they're establishing a lot of the mythos and a lot of the main characters, and this is one of your first, I suppose, it seems a disservice to say this about Buffy, but your first probably Monster of the Week episode.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, Monster of the Week is a consistent thing. They do great things with Monster of the Week episodes, but Monster of the Week episodes are absolutely the Buffy format.
Staple, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'd say the biggest vibe I got off of this was Goosebumps.
Oh, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Both of which came after, like TV shows, both of which came after this.
Yeah, but which are all drawing on a a tradition of anthology shows.
Sure.
And specifically, although I've never seen it, what this felt like to me, being so out of the Buffy canon in a way, or Buffy stream, was the third Halloween film, Season of the Witch.
Okay.
Is the only one
Don't know
that
anything about it.
Yeah, so it's the only one that Michael Myers isn't in, and it's just an anthology film about witches and pumpkins to become alive. So this episode just felt completely like separate from the main Buffy continuity in what I found to be an enjoyable way.
That's topical because the new Halloween movie is coming out soonish, and it's getting great reviews, and I can't wait to see it because Jamie Lee Curtis is a fucking queen. I love her so much.
She's a warrior.
Yeah, no, totally agree. What I was thinking about this episode was it probably borrowed heavily from Twilight Zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just in the imagery and the structure of it and all those things. I thought that was its closest relation in terms of easily accessible science fiction, really, or science fiction-y.
So I think so broadly speaking, this is a kind of a departure for Buffy so far, and but it kind of developed a lot of the themes we talked about previously, in the sense that it was a lot about contrasting the modern with the fantasy, about expressing teenage issues and issues of parents and things like that in kind of horrific kind of circumstances.
Yeah.
But it was a departure in the sense that, as he said, so Amy is Willow's friend, and we get the initial impression that she is casting magic and doing witchery and diabolical things to get on the cheerleading team. But the twist is it's actually her mother has possessed her body.
This is true.
And is the one who's obsessed with reclaiming her youth. So, which means a couple of things. It means that Angel isn't in this episode, there's no vampires in this episode, and there's a lot of firsts in this as well. So it's our first instance of witches and kind of magic in that respect. Obviously witchcraft becomes a really big thing for Willow later on in later seasons, so it's kind of ironic to see her kind of here being quite
unpresent,
but also kind of like stereotypical of witches.
Sure. And
kind of introduces a couple of things as well. So what were the things that you remember or enjoyed about the episode, Brian?
Like so much, actually. This was the episode when I was younger. When I watched it first, it thrilled me. I just thought it was incredible. I just found it exciting and funny and weird. When I first watched this season 1, I had already watched maybe a season, around season halfway through season 4 to halfway through season 5 or so. Yeah. And I thought that Willow wasn't a witch from basically season 1.
Yeah.
So I thought this is when Willow was going to become a witch, and I spent the whole time that I watched this originally, the whole seasons 1 to 3, waiting for Willow to become a witch essentially, and I was so excited for that. So I thought this was going to be the thing. But it also just has so many classic moments in this episode. There's the mouth horror, which was so good
and predates the Matrix.
Actually, good point. Cordelia wandering around blind, which was a fucking treat. It has good Buffy Joyce moments. It has Buffy acting like a fool. Love it. And and it kind of it establishes it further establishes the idea that grown-ups are not to be trusted.
Yeah.
And that they're kind of going to be evil. Distinctly. There are, I'd say you could count on one hand the amount of grown-ups that don't fuck someone over in the show versus the genuinely heroic teenagers that are presented. So I think the only people I can think of are Giles. Doesn't really fuck anyone over. He does some really shady stuff, but it's usually very heroic. Jenny Calendar definitely does fuck people over. So Joyce doesn't. Oh, no, she does actually. End of season 2.
Yes, but that's kind of more, that's very complicated, I think.
Yeah, sure. But how many adults are there that aren't kind of evil? I'll
remember her name when we get to it, but the professor in season 4 very specifically
100%
is very specifically is one of your first university kind of adult figures that fucks people over very much.
In my head she's Jane Lynch, but she's not.
She's not, no. She's more she's more, you can take her more seriously than Jane Lynch. Also, Jane Lynch was a lot younger at this time. She was 20 years younger.
But Joe, she was in The Fugitive, I want to say. Jane Lynch was, and she looked basically the same.
Yeah.
She's a lab technician or something.
Always looked
and that was 93, 91 or something. So the thing I was going to say, Clem is one of the only adults who doesn't fuck people over.
Yeah, but Clem's a demon.
Yeah, but he's quite nice.
So the contrast there is he's meant to be a demon who doesn't fuck people over.
Right.
What I think is interesting about it is I'm very much interested in the evolution of Giles over the course of the season, because I think it's one of the kind of under focused things in some ways, because it's about this father-daughter relationship or paternal relationship, which just isn't the most interesting thing about Buffy, but it is there, and I think Giles represents kind of a rare kind of positive male influence on TV, really, as well as Buffy. But one of the things I think is interesting about this is this episode is there's a real depiction of this like intersection of science and magic.
Yep.
So they have a lot of fun with the idea of like, oh well, we have to like take Eye of Newt, but we're going to do it in the chem lab, you know, and how we kind of make things modern in high school. And I liked the idea of kind of Giles when, you know, in the kind of the showdown at the end, he kind of gets down and dirty and he rolls up his sleeves and he sticks his arms like in the boiling pot to help Buffy, and he does the magic, and he kind of like, he's a very hands-on Witcher. Or Jesus, what are they called? Watcher. Jesus, too many fandoms. But there's a couple of kind of, you know, and I don't necessarily think they're sowing the seeds this early on, but a couple of things that contrast with him later on, in a sense that at one point someone says to Giles that he has no idea what the kind of pressure a parent can put on a child to be like them, but like a big part of his arc as his backstory, there's a lot of pressure on him to like take up the Watcher mantle, and he rebelled against that.
I thought one of the interesting parts was when he says when he does the conjuring and he says, oh, it was my first time or whatever, and it isn't.
It's just a lie. That's just a straight lie.
It's not a lie, I don't think. I think that's just retconned, essentially, or like, just forgotten about.
Yeah, there's a question like, how much do you say that that's like a lie because we kind of respect the internal fiction of the show, or how much is it potentially that like maybe they had some sketchy idea that he wasn't always like, that sounds like something that Joss Whedon would have had in the back of his head, that he wasn't always a stuffy librarian, you know?
Yes, yeah, no, that's a good point. I don't think you write that line in knowing it. True. I don't because it doesn't throw the scent.
Yeah.
You know? One of the things I've noted most distinctly about this episode was that the characters are so well established. It actually occurred to me that maybe this episode was written and produced later on in the season, potentially out of order, because it's just very well established. It puts the characterization of Buffy, Xander, not so much Willow unfortunately, but Buffy, Xander and Giles front and center, and Joyce hugely as well. And like, if you're a watcher of this show,
capital W or
no, lowercase w, in the 90s, this is the episode that hooks you, I'd say. Like, the first episode you're like, oh, and then this episode, like, you know, you have lots of shitty episodes to go in season 1, let's be honest, but this episode I think you're like, oh, that was great, you know, it's fun, weird, it was great.
Well, that's the thing about like with shows like this and genre shows, like one of the things is that your third episode, which is traditionally your first kind of like Monster of the Week or serial episode, has to hook people. Yeah. Because the pilot brings people in, and something that my mastermind subject obviously being Doctor Who, something that they specifically did with the revival of Doctor Who was that they had the pilot, and then the second episode was in the far future, and the third episode was set in the past, and that was done specifically to show people the range of the show. I think this is also specifically to be like, we're not always talking about vampires, and they make a big point about that there are other things in Sunnydale and on the Hellmouth that are of danger.
It's one of those things. I remember my dad slagging me at some point, being like, oh, how many episodes can you watch about someone killing vampires? And it was always like, well, Dad.
I think that could be a recurring counter on this podcast as well, like references to times your dad slagged you, but possibly specifically about Buffy.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. He used to give out to us a lot about for watching American TV shows, which is looking back, a very 90s, early 90s thing to do to your kids. Be like, don't be watching those American TV shows.
I just wasn't allowed to watch Buffy. It was too mature themes and content.
You see, my parents probably would have,
if they knew what was happening.
Exactly. If they had actually, if they had sat down and watched it, they would have stopped us from watching it, I'd say. No, that's not fair. My mother is quite big into science fiction and fantasy. Not quite. Yeah, I would say quite into, actually.
Oh yeah.
She's read like Arthur C. Clarke and Isaac Asimov and stuff. And she would have watched these all with us. And actually, I think looking back, it's probably just my dad who's quite strict with those things, because he just kind of told us to watch whatever. Like, we watched The Matrix with her when I was 12, which was 18 in Ireland, but like probably shouldn't have been. By
comparison, your dad was like, you know, Harry Potter and all his little friends went straight to hell for practicing witchcraft.
He did tell us that we weren't allowed to watch Sabrina, which I might have already told this story on the podcast, which is depressing because it's like 5 stories, but he did tell us we weren't allowed to watch Sabrina the Teenage Witch because it was too sarcastic is what he said. But I do think there was an element of, Don't be putting ideas.
The occult.
Yeah.
So something about this episode as well, and something that I'm glad they drop as they go on. We've talked about this before, but Xander is a terrible person.
Xander is an absolute dickhead.
But the problem with Xander says a lot of realistic, like Xander says a lot of stupid things in this episode, and we were saying to each other who would say that. People like Xander say that, and did say that at the time.
100%.
But he's what we would call now very much an incel. I think it's very topical.
Oh, would they, Joel? Let's look at my notes here for the word incel. Xander is an incel. This is going to be one of Joel's notes.
Something you said earlier about Buffy fucking a girl across the room and Tri-X is actually something I wrote in my notes as well, like word for word.
Yeah, she fucks her
across the room.
I was worried about saying that as well because I was like,
for all our international listeners.
For all international listeners, like, is to fuck something across? Does that translate? I can't imagine it does.
It means throw with great force and abandon.
I think it means, abandon specifically. Yeah. It doesn't even have to be great force. It's just like you fuck it across the room.
But yeah, so Xander's creepy. He gets Buffy a bracelet that says, I didn't even bother writing it down, but it was like forever mine, or I'll always be in your heart, or something. And then tries to portray it as like a friendship bracelet or something, you know. But he just he makes a lot of those jokes that people made when you were in school. The now is like, you're very like, you're kind of joking about taking pictures in her window at night and maybe like tricking her into having sex with you, and it's all very skeevy, and I don't like him.
Yeah, no, I don't like him either. I'm trying to think, is there a point at which we like Xander? Is it when he gets kind of okay at doing things around season 4 and 5?
Well, see, this is a question of these kind of shows. The Xander is a staple, the norm.
Yeah.
Is it necessary? Do we require someone to hate in this kind of show? Yeah.
But I mean, he's not written to hate, I don't think. There are Xander fans. I don't think the show was written with Xander to hate in mind, because then they go ahead and write Michelle Trachtenberg, Dawn, who people hate. Like, remember the time we went to the Buffy Fest one year?
Yeah.
Which was awful.
Which is the thing we did, yeah.
Yeah, and we got pizza afterwards, which was great. But it was for Emma's birthday, actually, that year. But anyway, so we went to this, and they showed a couple episodes of Buffy, and people dressed up, and there were drinks there and stuff. It was fine.
I dressed as Giles.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I wore a waistcoat.
Okay. But, so, whenever Dawn would come on screen, when they're showing Once More Feeling, whenever she would come on screen, people would shout boo and kill her.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And it was so vicious, and I was like, yeah, like, Dawn is a little annoying for sure, but I don't want to kill her.
No, that's I think we can agree that's too far.
Yeah.
But no, there are worse Xanders out there on TV, but he's quite gross. Definitely season 1 anyway.
You'll enjoy this. I spelled Xander like wrong every second time I wrote his name down in my notes.
I think right with a Z.
Yeah, every second time I did it.
I think this is one of the few episodes in all 7 seasons where they mentioned that his actual name is Alexander.
It is,
which I thought was interesting to me. You know,
it's interesting. It's also a relief because Xander, Buffy, and Willow are all such ridiculous fucking names.
But believable, like there's a lot of like wasn't there a girl in one of the last episodes that was called Consumpta or something mad with that?
Yeah.
Immaculata, maybe something like that. Yeah. You can tell that a lot of the budget on this episode went to the really janky kind of Dungeons and Dragons movie-esque special effects on the magic, fireballs and things like this. But one of the weird things about this episode is actually no one dies in it.
No one does.
It has to be one of the few episodes in Buffy where no one dies.
And the bronze isn't in it.
The bronze isn't in it, no.
At all, yeah.
That's true, yeah. And it's actually the first example of something which I don't think I noticed when I originally watched Buffy, but it's definitely a thing of Giles getting knocked out.
Yeah. We talked about this in previous episodes. We had a counter for...
Yeah, but this is actually the first time he gets knocked out.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. There's a thing as he goes on. But, like, I just was never aware of the second time. But it 100% is a thing. I think it's a thing about kind of knocking the adult out a bit.
Yeah.
It's a thing of, like, just slightly having to sideline him and let the teenagers kind of take care of it. And actually, like, since the whole point of Buffy is, like, this subversion of the teenage final girl kind of formula. What I think is interesting about this is in episode 3 they've already had the teenage girl is also the monster and the villain, and very much taken ish, but like the I don't know whatever about the actual breakdown of it is, but like for the gut of the episode it's this teenage girl versus teenage giral thing, I
actually think the first time they actually truly do a teenage girl is the the evil one of the episode is the episode with the Invisible Girl, which is in the season, I believe. But that is the actresses for that is your one, who's a lesbian.
Can narrow that down a bit.
Yeah, she's in Veep. She's married to the daughter.
Oh yes, she's also American Horror Story, but I can't get her name.
Yeah, no, she's someone's daughter. Robert something. Richard.
Redfish?
No, Chloe Duvall. Robert Duvall's daughter. But I think that's the first time where it's actually a teenage girl who's the villain, which is interesting. Yeah, so what I wanted to highlight in this episode, one of the things was the scene where they show the witch bubbling, conjuring up something cool just before the credits, I think. Was so fucking frustrating.
Why?
There's so much cool set design there. There's weird goblins in corners. They have the dolls hanging from the ceilings and all stuff, and you can't see anything
because it's pitch black.
It's pitch black. It's the first time in this show that I've been like, okay, I'm missing out on stuff because I can't see anything.
Yeah,
it's so dark. I was reading, like it must have been shot in 16mm, and that's fine. But like, someone has to go back and remaster those. It's totally possible to push that film to get a good result out of the shadows. I'm sure. Maybe I'm talking shite. Who knows? But I really, it was so frustrating.
Yeah, and there's just like a lot of effort that goes into the set design that's lost in those kind of moments. Yeah.
As I was saying earlier, Willow really kind of gets a bit written out of this episode.
Yeah,
like she's not there much. She has a couple, like what she does great. I thought. I'm a huge Willow fan.
She was a bit of pining over Xander, which is kind of her arc for a bit.
But like it's quite subtle. It's it's a little bit of happiness when Buffy calls him one of the girls, and it's like a little bit of disappointment when he wants to give her stuff.
Alison Hagen does some great like acting on the sidelines. Like she's always in character.
Yes, 100%, and she's always incredibly relatable and so sweet. The shot where she runs in with the baseball bat, like sold it for me. I loved it. It was great.
I think we will probably need to like recommend that people actually watch these episodes before listen to
because we're referring to specific shots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I suppose there are people who have a shot for shot memorized in their brain. Yeah,
freaks. If you're one of those people, you're a freak. You should fuck off from our podcast. Thank you.
Another thing is actually the first instance of body switching, which is actually like a weirdly recurring thing on Buffy.
I can think of 2 episodes. I can think of this episode and one other, which is when Buffy and Faith switch bodies.
I feel like there's a couple.
Oh, by the way, spoiler alert! We don't give a shit about spoiler alerts, so just don't listen to the show. If you're planning on being annoyed about someone telling you about a show that aired 12 years ago, which I think is
far more than 12 years ago.
Well, this episode aired 12 years ago.
This episode that was broadcast
22 years ago. Sorry, 22 years ago. But I mean, that's actually become a trope in itself, being like, oh, sorry for spoiling this thing that aired a million years ago for you. So anyway, I'm speaking a bit quickly.
The summary is just to like, don't listen to this podcast.
Don't listen to this podcast, please.
Yeah.
I will get so anxious.
Yeah. Neither of us are sufficiently non-anxious to actually listen back to this or edit it, so it's probably going to be unlistenable. I've
actually listened to a couple of the ones we've done so far, and it was nice. I was listening to it while working, and it was just the 2 of us like talking, except for the one where we had a fight in the middle. That was awkward.
Oh, okay. Pretty we cut that out.
We will cut that out, but I didn't we have the thing. There's a moment where I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I like stop the recording, and it's a dramatic thing.
That'd be a great, if this was a fiction podcast, that'd be a great like cut.
Oh, should we do that?
Like turn this into a murder mystery, like a serial killer kind of thing.
Kind of, but no. Like this becomes a prolonged study of a relationship.
That sounds even wankier than 2 English literature graduates doing Buffy podcasts.
No, honestly, we should get it like a divorce in the middle of this thing, and like deciding like which like the cat's leaving, and we have to record in different places and stuff, and one of them cats like turns up and when we record in this place, and like maybe when people get bored of that, then like a murder gets involved. Maybe you get murdered. Maybe.
Like, this sounds great. It sounds way too complex for 2 people who couldn't get their shit together to do a 3rd episode with 6 months in between. But
I don't think it was 6 months.
It was close to 6 months.
No, I think the last one we did was June.
Okay, I don't know how long ago that was. There was something I was going to say about that though. What was it? Blah blah blah.
Oh, one of the things for this episode is that I introduced Joel to the booklet for this DVD box set.
Can I read a little bit from the booklet?
Of course you can. So the DVD box set that I've told the story about getting this DVD box set when I was younger came with this incredible booklet, as DVD box sets did, and CDs did, and games did back in the day. They would just come with good little booklets. Like, remember Final Fantasy VII when it came out?
Yeah.
It gave you little summaries of all the characters and how to play the game and a little bit of the backstory and stuff, and it was incredible. You know, on the way home from picking up the game or the DVD or whatever, you opened it up and you had a little read of the book inside. It was great.
So, like, yeah, 100%. I think one of the, you know, and this is like me showing my minuscule age, but one of the lost arts of the pre-streaming generation is booklets like that, and game booklets, as you're saying, where it would be kind of part of the story almost. And as you know, I'm a freak, so like one of my real interests is things like regional newspapers or weird newsletters for organizations people never heard of, and these booklets. And this is a good one, because basically, you know, this is obviously pre-Wikipedia or pre-bespoke Wikipedias, you know, and people being able to like look up specific facts. So this might be the only way people got this information. And if someone's job to write this booklet, and some of the sections that they have in here, I'll read you a little bit of it. Here it is, your handy dandy guide to each and every episode from the first season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And they have sections which are all broken up into different fonts, like quote of the week, love, comma, Slayer style. The relationships on Buffy are complex and critical to the overall plots, and the examples they give are Angel / Buffy, Xander / Cordelia. They have Buffy's bag of tricks. They have pop culture IQ, which I think is a really awkward way of phrasing that.
Yeah.
The characters in Buffy are almost preternaturally aware of pop culture. It's part of their hip factor. And then sections on continuity and all this kind of stuff. But like, this is like awful. But I do remember that like before, because like one of my hobbies now is going around weird Wikipedias and reading up trivia on things. Before that, I used to read episode guides to things like Friends and Simpsons, and you know, that was the way you got that information.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, I have some really good extensive episode guides on Star Trek from different series, and I think one of the moments you've ridiculed me for the most is finding a guide to Star Trek Deep Space Nine and saying to you, oh Brian, it's actually really rare, so it was a great find that I got here being able to buy this.
Yeah, and it was like £30 for a 30-year-old book that is totally useless.
But yeah, so that's one of the benefits of having DVD box sets, and we can buy the DVDs because it's never going to come out on Blu-ray. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I liked about the episode.
Please do.
It's going to be my turn to talk for a bit.
What, this wasn't your turn to talk for a bit?
No, it gets worse. So one of the opening lines of the episode is Giles saying, "You were chosen to destroy vampires, not to wave pom poms at people." And Giles just has such a glut of like really just like they're all choice lines, you know.
Sure. In
these early episodes, there's the opening gag is him comparing cheerleaders to a cult.
Yeah.
And it's just so like it wears this like, you know. She's the chosen one, but she also has to get to, you know, a study period. Like, it just wears it so on its sleeve in these early episodes. They call their group the Slayerettes because they obviously haven't come up with the concept.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's
it's like you're the Slayer and we're the Slayerettes because they haven't settled on Scooby Gang yet. You know, which was fun.
Which isn't the season actually. The Scooby Gang does get referred to in the season, and you know what? How I know?
Well, how's that?
Because that fucking booklet. I'm just looking through one of the like pop culture moments is referring to them as a Scooby Gang, and it's like, this is a reference to the classic cartoon show Scooby-Doo. Or sorry, it probably says, "Where are you, Scooby-Doo?"
Yeah, there's
by Hanna-Barbera.
The Mystery Adventures of Scooby-Doo or something like that.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I have to say.
No, I ran into a wall. You would talk about the kind of the contact lenses that Cordelia has on when she wanders blind into the...
I did not talk about that. I have a note about it.
There you go, let me go back.
Sorry, excuse you.
No, you had talked about her being blind, which is actually what I was trying to say.
But I do... No, you looked at my notes.
No, hand to God, that I did not look at your notes.
Okay.
But what I always want to comment about them is that when Cordelia is blind, quote unquote, you can clearly see that she's wearing contact lenses.
Yeah.
But they're these big, chunky... white contact lenses, which I have an affection for because they're what they use in Evil Dead to make the Deadites look evil.
Yeah.
It's also the first example of later on when Amy's mother, Catherine Magnuson, that's her name, Catherine Magnuson.
Catherine the Great.
When she uses her darkest magic, her eyes go black, which is something that consistently throughout the show, that like when you're using strong magic,
I think that's CGI though. Or no, it probably isn't CGI. Like there's no CGI in this pretty much.
Oh, even if it is, I'm just saying like there's an eye thing going on here.
For sure.
But one of the bizarre things, and like you realise as you watch shows like this how much American culture we assimilated when we were teenagers that we never questioned. Like things like study periods or homecoming or all that bullshit, you know. Driver's ed classes was something obviously we didn't understand. When Cordelia goes to driver's ed, they never put the camera on them, but there's like 4 other students in the back of the car, which is confusing.
There's one very small Asian lady right behind her, bobbing around whenever she does like her swerves and stuff, and I thought that was also quite funny. The other thing they do that the note that I had about American culture and American high school culture that kind of got assimilated into our experience was the dissections. Like, we certainly didn't do dissections in school. Certainly not of like I think they brought like a rat to class at one point that we shared amongst the 60 years in our school, and the teacher would be like, I did that, it smells like formaldehyde, and no, you can't touch it. Absolutely not. You're not getting all your own
rat.
Yeah, I think she took a pig's heart as well to class sometime because you could get those at the butcher.
Yeah, I think we might have all cut up a pig's heart in school.
Each, like,
I think, but like I went to a private school, so there's just pig's hearts out the wazoo, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I assume there were pigs.
They're probably students who couldn't pay the fees.
Yeah. There's nothing I can say down that alley that's not going to be offensive, so I'm going to swerve.
Joe went to Belvedere College in Dublin.
You can't put my personal information on this podcast.
I can.
Well, Belvedere College has bigger problems at the moment than me being on a Buffy podcast, so
this is true.
We're not getting into that particular story. So something else I think is funny as well about it is there's a running theme throughout Buffy of Buffy being a really bad drunk.
Yeah,
because obviously this is magic inebriation, but Giles does make it clear that it is, you know, it hits her like a quart of alcohol. So she basically was drunk in this part of the episode where she's jumping around. And throughout the show, the two things Buffy can't deal with are guns and alcohol.
That's true. Yeah,
you know, she's a real straight edge slayer, you know, about that kind of stuff. Yeah. But just this whole kind of like counterpoint between the science and the fantasy, like the whole way throughout, they're like, you know, oh, stay away from the science lab. We need to get to cast our counter spells and all this. It's just it's really, they're having a lot of fun with it. Yeah, they
really are. And you know what? I'm going to say they do for almost the whole show. It's a joyous show. It just enjoys doing what it does, which is great. One of the things that I noted was the heavy theme in this episode of parental pressure, which turns out to be very different to the way it presents itself to begin with. Because obviously that's the whole theme of the Buffy and Joyce interactions through the episode is
parallels.
Yeah, sure. So Buffy at the beginning they have a really kind of sad little interaction where Joyce is unboxing a bunch of things for her for the gallery. One of which she says are, let me get it here. It wasn't. It was like, oh, what did she call them?
For the tribal art exposition.
Tribal art exposition, which is so fucking vague, but is clearly a foreshadow to when in episode 7 or whatever, not me's Inca Eugene, Inca Boy or Inca Girl or whatever it was called, where one of the masks eats or turns into a mummy. What?
So okay, well we're thinking of 2 episodes right now. I might be the same.
Oh, you're
episode.
thinking of the hyena episode?
No, I was thinking the episode where there's a mask on the wall in Joyce's bedroom that ends up on her book club friend.
Okay, I think that's a completely different episode.
It could be. I think the Inca thing is like, I don't know if that's related to Joyce's exhibition. Okay,
it is. Yeah, no, she gets it delivered in from the exhibition.
Well, I was thinking the one where Susan from the book club ends up being a zombie.
No, I have it here. Okay, it's called the Ovu Mubani mask. Let me see what episode's from. Dead Man's Party, which is in season 3.
Oh, well, I'm completely wrong then. That's what I was connecting to. She obviously Joyce doesn't learn her lesson.
She just never learns a lesson, but no one does, Joe. But so throughout this episode, Buffy and Joyce have an awkward interactions because, to start with, Joyce isn't listening to Buffy. Buffy's telling her all about how she's trying to get into cheerleading. And I actually remember when I was younger watching this and thinking, why would Buffy be into cheerleading? Buffy's cooler than that. But no, Buffy just 100% is not cooler than that. Buffy is
she's a valley girl.
Yeah, who's pulled into a very different direction in life. But so
that was haunting.
Yeah. So Joyce is doesn't listen to Buffy. she doesn't give a shit about what she's talking about, and Buffy's like, oh, what am I applying for, Mom? And Joyce is like, I'm sorry, I'm under so much pressure with the gallery. No one's ever been under a lot of pressure with a gallery. But and then they have a really sad interaction where she's saying, I'm going for cheerleading, and Joyce says, oh great, I'll keep you out of trouble. And Buffy says, I haven't been in trouble. And Joyce says, no, not yet.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit heartbreaking.
Grim, yeah.
It is so grim. It's so unfair. Or it'll keep you out of trouble, I think is the line she uses. There's also a great stupid visual gag that they do completely throughout the show, which is Buffy easily doing things that people are finding difficult around them, artificially difficult, because like it's clearly just like opening a box, and Joyce has to pretend for like half an hour to be like, oh, I can't get this box open.
She's really hogging that crowbar.
She really is, yeah. But then as this episode goes on, there are interactions with Joyce about, you know, how Joyce wants Buffy to be in the
yearbook club.
The yearbook club, thank you. Because she had so much fun doing it when she was younger. And
Nerd.
This is obviously, you know, supposed to be connected to the idea of Amy being pressured into doing this by her mother. But like ultimately, you know, and like that's what the whole episode is setting up, is that Amy has been controlled by her mother. She's being made to lose weight by her mother. She's been made to think a completely different way by her mother. She's been forced to try it for cheerleading. She's been forced to train 6 hours a day. And she can't ever hope to achieve the things that her mother has done. And turns out that no, she doesn't feel any of those things. And I think that's a great little twist, because like that would be the traditional presentation, is that she feels this pressure from her mother, and she has to do that. And that's one of those things that Buffy does, is Buffy writes a story and then writes against it. Sometimes, like, you know, that's simplifying true. It, but like in this situation, it's like the traditional story there is that someone feels parental pressure. That's what the whole episode is showing. That's what the B story or the B notes are showing as well, is like, you know, parental pressure. And what it turns out to be is parental taking your body and going off and trying to relive their youth, which is a completely different thing. It's athematic. It's a great twist. It's a great little note.
And it's a strong, like, the specific line, the kicker is, she said I was wasting my youth, so she took it. Like,
that was great.
I could
hear us both like typing.
Yeah. But like, this is a kind of controversial take maybe, but like, I often see things like this, and it's like, Amy's got a bit of a sweet deal, because what she got to do was eat brownies and watch the TV for 3 months, and her mother lost weight for her and got her on the cheerleading team, and then she goes like Freaky Fridays back into her body. Yeah,
that's pretty fucked up, Joe. She couldn't leave the house. Someone took her body.
She ate loads of brownies, and her mother lost. Specifically, Willow says that she used to be really fat, and then she said her mother said she has to lose all that weight.
True, but look at the end of the episode where she's like, I'm thinking of getting fat.
Yeah. That's true.
Like, she clearly doesn't have a problem with
no, 100%.
Having weight in her.
I'm projecting my own desires on this.
No, I also want to be able to eat brownies for 3 months and not get any weight. That'd be great.
It's quite funny at the end. Actually,
it's something about your 20s, isn't it? That you just start gaining weight all the time. It's awful. I hate it.
Yeah, but because Brian, it is because in your 20s you can afford to buy food. It's as simple as that.
You control your own food.
Exactly, yeah. But in terms of that parallel as well, there's also a specific parallel that they've kind of touched on so far, which becomes, I think, a bigger thing about Buffy's father, and the fact that she's specifically with Joyce, and Amy's, you know, being separated from her father, and the mother in Amy portrays it as, you know, again, this I don't care about America as a person. I don't care about those themes.
Fuck no.
But Buffy makes me kind of more interested in most things, because it does a thing where it's like, oh, it's Americana. She was, you know, the homecoming. He was the homecoming king. She was the homecoming queen. They got married right at high school, etc. You know, and Amy's mother portrays it that the father was a deadbeat and fucked off with quote unquote Miss Trailer trash. But at the end, it's about how Amy actually goes and lives with her father, and how that's like a positive thing for her and all this kind of stuff. Yeah,
I was thinking, like, watching that, it must have been so difficult for Buffy hearing that, which, I mean, might be us reading too much into a TV show, but, like, you know, just
that's why we're
Buffy,
here.
Yeah, absolutely. Buffy doesn't have a great relationship with her father. As the show goes on, he disappears because he stops caring about her. I think he gets a second family, specifically. And hearing someone whose father doesn't have much of an interest in her, and hearing Amy at the end of the episode say how great it has been to be with her father again, who she hasn't seen in 4 years, to be able to, because he wants to bake her brownies, and he wants to spend so much time with her and not let her out of his sight because he loves her so much and stuff like this. must be a bit heartbreaking, but it's also just it was a sweet moment. I thought it was really nice, like, little twist towards the end.
Yeah, and I actually think I'll reserve judgment until we see further episodes, but I don't know if I feel maybe it's a shame that Amy comes back and turns evil. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it's a nice ending for her.
You know, she doesn't come back and turn evil, for one.
Okay, but that's obviously a massive oversimplification, but she becomes a antagonistic character.
Yeah, specifically in season 6, she becomes an odd character. It's in the comic books she becomes evil actively. Okay. Like in season 6, she's an enabler for Willow, but she's not evil.
Yeah, I suppose I am probably conflating this retrospectively with what I know about the comics, where she's written as a much more like just straight up villainous character, you know. So yeah, I'm going to do something which is a useful skill to have, which is going to say I'm changing my opinion on that. I'm going to reserve judgment until I know more about it. Yeah.
And as I say that, I remembered that there's an episode in season 7 where she turns Willow into your man Warren for a whole episode because she killed Warren
in season 7.
Yeah.
Season 7.
You might not have seen this.
So Warren reappeared in season 7.
Yeah,
after he died.
Yes. So
I might not have seen this.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but in the comics, it's her and Warren are the couple. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So essentially, what happens is that Amy is annoyed at Willow for some reason, so she turns Willow into Warren for an episode.
That's gross.
Yeah, it's kind of, it is gross. There's nothing else to it. Do you want to talk about fashion?
I do want to talk about fashion because the fashion is particularly bad in this episode.
I don't remember a single thing they wore.
They do a lot of costume changes in the episode. Sure. And for people of various fashion, like the idea is that like Buffy and Cordelia are meant to be fashionable, Xander and Willow are not, but they're all equally terrible, so I don't know how they tell each other apart. At one point, Cordelia is wearing what looks like Liberace's like blanket cinched at the waist as a top. It's like made of this like chromatic like green and teal material. Xander always looks terrible. He's wearing he is the epitome of an American man who can't dress himself. He's wearing again some form of carpet, and he is wearing something which we have noticed a lot on American TV shows recently of men wearing t-shirts underneath their shirt.
It's so disgusting. And
he does that ubiquitously through all of his different costume changes. And it's not good at all. Willow generally dresses like she's in the Manson family. That's kind of her look for this episode. It's just a lot of really high-necked, like for someone in the 90s, she dresses like she's in the 60s, and she wasn't popular in the 60s.
Yeah. But I thought one fashion note I had was that the cheerleading outfits are reasonably modest. Like it's full coverage on top, and like obviously they have bloomers and stuff, which I thought was a bit uncomfortable. But I'm
not sure if that's the official term that actual women would use for those underwear bloomers.
I feel like there's specifically bloomers under cheerleading outfits, but I could be wrong there.
I think we can agree that we do not know.
We sure do not. But like compared to today, I presume cheerleading outfits would be reasonably close to like crop tops or something like that.
Yeah. The official cheerleading outfits for sure, but one thing I did note was Cordelia, who is amazing in this episode.
Oh, she's so good in this episode. I want to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. But when she is auditioning, she is wearing a kind of two-piece kind of like sports bra kind of thing, which is just covered in like, it's like the stars and stripes, but it's only the stars.
Oh, great.
And it's just like this weirdly like, I'm here, America, cheerleading.
Does that mean that the bikini underneath is probably, the bikini briefs are probably stripes?
Like, I have no way of telling.
Cordelia was great in this episode.
At one point, when we're not sure who is targeting cheerleaders, the show portrays Cordelia as the villain.
Yeah, Cordelia is the red herring in this episode. Yeah. It's like, oh,
I have red herring written down as well.
I actually don't have it written down, but yes. It's like there's a scene where Amy's in the locker room and she's afraid, and Cordelia comes along and she's like, "Hey, you, don't be doing that. Don't be threatening my position on the cheerleading squad." And she walks off and she's like she's being so fucking threatening, and she slams the fucking locker door in her face and everything. It's so weird and unnecessary. And
like, we're talking about characterization being established, but Willow is established enough that when she says this line that it's clearly like out of character. But at one point when Giles asks like who would want to harm Cordelia, Willow says anybody that's met her.
Yeah.
Which I laughed a lot at.
Oh, here was the line that I loved from Cordelia in the locker room. She said, We have to achieve our dreams, Amy. Otherwise, we wither and die. Just so fucking dark. Oh, a couple other Cordelia moments when she's wandering around blind, which was incredible.
Now, I will point out that initially when she was wandering around blind, before she actually goes fully blind, she was just wandering around, you know, like you would if you weren't wearing your glasses. She just had poor vision.
It did seem like it.
Yeah.
But the driving instructor is like, if you fail driving yet again, you're never going to you're going to college on the bus. And the joke's on him, because Cordelia never goes to college. So there.
That driver's ed instructor, while a generically kind of unattractive middle-aged driving ed instructor, was actually the best dressed man in this episode, because he was just wearing like a plaid shirt, which he would get away with now.
I completely forgot to look at anyone's clothes in this episode, so I can't confirm or deny.
You could saw Twigger eggs.
Yeah, kind of, to be honest. Cordelia getting sacrificed, or when she gets the Cordelia doll and she wraps the bandage around her head. I was like, Charisma Carpenter is killing it in the scene. But just everything about Cordelia in this episode, she is the best. Like when Amy cartwheels into Cordelia, and Cordelia's like, "Did you see that? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Did you see that?" Hello, but like it's just Charisma Carpenter like hugging the screen for like 30 seconds, just being her naturally charismatic.
Charisma by name, charisma by nature.
Absolutely, and it's just wonderful. I love her so much.
And just the last couple of fashion things I know, because like again it was all terrible. Giles again by being that kind of Steve Jobs thing of he's decided I'm just wearing the same thing every day. Yeah, I can't get it wrong. Yeah. Buffy at one point is wearing a tank top which just has a picture of a Polaroid of a cupcake on it for like 4 scenes, and also later on is wearing a top that I can only describe as hairy.
Yes.
It is a furry.
There are
top.
more hairy moments to come, to be honest. Here, I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. The Bloodstone Vengeance spell.
Yes.
Eliminates your immune system.
Yes.
Is this a very awkward AIDS reference?
This is what I was going to say to you, because if it's not, what they've described this spell, which gets you really drunk, and then when it passes, you have no immune system, is HIV adjacent, I think.
Oh, it sure fucking is. Come on.
No, I think
this is 96.
Yeah.
You are you are having after school specials about AIDS on a constant basis. You know exactly what it is. You have scary ads coming on about AIDS and everything. Like, you can't say immune system being destroyed unless you're talking about AIDS.
And if we can draw that comparison, which might be a reach, but let's draw it, that and the syphilis that Xander gets in later seasons from an ancient Native American tribe are the only two, I think, STIs that they reference on the show.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think so. No. Them going. Drusilla and Spike and Angel going around through the Black Plague and all those things. I think they do reference a couple of STIs at that point.
It's probably just syphilis again, though, right?
It is probably syphilis. In fairness, yeah, they're all quite syphilitic.
Genre TV shows have a weird relationship with STIs, because I can think of 2 science fiction shows that specifically have, like STI related episodes. Like
Star Trek.
There's one in Star Trek where there is one Next Generation, which is about which is like a really bad HIV episode in the 90s.
Which season?
We haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay.
It's a poorly done HIV episode. Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise, which was only about 10 years ago, nearly 15 years ago now. Terrible HIV episode in it as well. And then
no HIV is good HIV.
This is true, it's the bag eggs. And there's an episode of another episode of Next Generation based on the original series where they get drunk by sexual contact, and amongst other contact, but it gets a bit sexual and randy. Course, yeah. So yeah, and it just feels like nerds writing about sex a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and like in fairness, this was one line that we're talking about.
Oh no, we're extrapolating this massively. We're not
extrapolating, but like you can't say you can't talk about eliminating your immune system in front of a bunch of reasonably informed queers and not expect us to comment on it. 2 things, okay. I think this is like the 8th time I've said one more thing. The cat in the trunk. Why did she keep a cat in that trunk? That's cruel. No wonder it jumped out so scared. I think the real victim of this episode is that poor fucking cat.
That cat didn't do a good job of guarding whatever it was meant to be guarding either. Yeah,
it didn't. And B, that's from the opening credits, which is nice.
I think it took both of us a while to realise that it's actually Amy's mother who is getting witchied in the opening credits and not...
I talked about this in the first episode of our podcast.
Yeah.
And I said, like,
I remember
that's,
that
I
for
said,
that reason,
oh,
yeah.
that's Amy's mother as opposed to Willow. And you were like, what?
What?
That was when you
Sounds
realized
like me,
yeah.
Clutching my pearls.
I think so. What's awful is that if someone is listening to this, they probably listened to these 3 episodes within reasonable distance of each other, as opposed to us, who have made them within a long time of each other. So
I just love that you're so optimistic that you think someone's listening to 3 episodes.
So oh yeah, and the other thing is, I had it here, 1 second. Oh, should on drugs.
This is awkward.
Oh yeah, so we had a bit of back and forth during the episode about how long Amy is in, or had her body stolen for the episode. And it's the whole episode. She arrives in the episode with her body stolen. Yes,
because in fairness, she does say when she's unstolen to that it's been a few months.
Yeah.
But I just felt like the start of the episode, it's just like Amy's mother was comparatively being so reasonable in her portrayal of Amy, which makes sense. I was just like, is it like something that happens like a couple of scenes in or whatever? But no, you're right, it was the entire way through.
What was that line about Amy being shocked when the mouth gets disappeared in the science lab? Oh,
well, basically Xander, who was useless, was supposing that when LeSean's mouth goes missing, which is quite obviously like, I've seen better versions of that. This is they put something on top of her mouth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When her mouth goes missing, that like, well, Amy was just as shocked as we were, so she's obviously not a witch. But like that just wasn't the case.
No.
I also will point out that we can function the rules around kind of like slayers and demons and all this kind of stuff, but when Buffy throws Amy's mother across the room, she's just beating up a middle-aged woman. Like, a middle-aged woman who might know magic, but like, if you were to beat the shit out of Giles, you wouldn't say, oh, it's okay, he's not human. Do you know what I mean? So it's just her throwing someone's mother against the wall.
At the same time, it was clearly a stunt person, because you do not see that person's face when they're stumbling across.
Oh, and the amazing conclusion that she like, you know, this like the Shakespearean thing of like using the mirror to reflect her spell, which, as the kind of person who keeps track of like internal logic in this kind of show, I don't think it's something they ever really return to. The concept that a spell is a physical thing that can be redirected. Yeah,
very rarely, if so. Actually, I think spells very rarely get manifested physically like that. Yeah, but and then it has the really beautiful scene at the end where they discuss her in front of her trophy, the mother in front of her trophy, and she is stuck in the trophy, which does reoccur. I think there's one episode later on in the season where that trophy is there and you see its eyes move, but I'm not 100% certain.
I wonder if it was there when the school like
probably
blew up or whatever.
Probably. Yeah, that's a good point. She's probably dead now, or
not.
Oh geez, that'd be worse. I give this episode 8.2 eyes of Newt out of 10.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's probably going to be the second highest rating I give any episode this season.
I see. This is interesting because I thought about my rating during my rating during the episode, and I would say I would actually give this a 6.8 hairy tops, because I was like,
that's you,
that's me, a 6.8 hairy top, because like I enjoy it a lot, but it's not good. Like, it's like,
I took it 100% in the spirit. Yeah. I just like, I bought in. I loved it. You gave the first episode like 7.6 or something. I gave it like 5.
Maybe it's a harsh marker. But like, this is an episode that officially this is an episode of the first season of Buffy that you've rated much higher than I have.
Yeah. Okay. No, 8.2, and like that 8.2 is relative to the first season.
Okay.
Like, it's not an 8.2 in the same way that a season 2 or season 3 episode would be an 8.2. This is like so good for where it is, and so enjoyable, and so buying in, and such well established characterization. Yeah, I think it's an excellent season 1 episode.
See, I think it's a great episode. It's just I don't think it's good. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it, but like, I was just like, I can't. I think I am rating episodes adjusting for inflation, but I'm rating them against all of Buffy. I can't not see it all in my head.
That's fair enough, but okay. Like, look at the next episode, which is the Praying Mantis episode.
Amazing episode.
Awful. That is going to be getting a 5 point something because it's fun, but it's ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. It has awful, janky CGI.
It's also all about men.
It tries to make a sympathetic character out of a man and an older man. Oh, he's an older man who doesn't do anything, but he's only in one scene, so, or doesn't do anything bad.
That's why he has to die.
Yeah, sure. But overall, I thought this episode actually was well put together. There's very little awkward dialogue. It's well put. It's just well put together. The only thing that I would have removed from it was Xander's bracelet and shitness.
And Xander, yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, this has been The Boys of the Buff. I have now listened to 5 podcasts in my life. Do you want to hear what they are?
Yes.
Serial, S-Town, Gilmore Guys, Adventure Zone, All Killa No Filla.
Will you say we're most like Serial?
I would say we're like a mixture between Serial and Adventure Zone. But like exactly where they meet in the middle.
That particular Venn diagram.
Yeah, like I think we could be hosted on NPR, or maybe they could just make a TV show about us. Do they make TV shows about podcasts?
Well, yes, because we watched one and it was called My Brother and Me.
Oh my god, yeah. If they're gonna, and the Gilmore Guys, they got onto the TV.
They did.
I think we could be on the Buffy revival, which is going to be happening.
Which we will talk about next episode because we'll forget, but it will come up again. I'm cautiously optimistic for it.
I'm not.
I think the world needs Buffy.
But it's going to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and who's it not going to be about?
Oh, well, we don't know. We don't know what it's going to be about.
That's true. I mean, like Ang to Korra, that's...
Yeah, exactly. There are things that can be done, but like... My opinion and my thesis has always been that Buffy would be the best show made today, and it was made 20 years ago. So if they can do anything that is at least respectful and deserving of its legacy,
sure,
then I have to hope.
Okay, I'll take that. Okay, well, listen, thank you for stopping listening when I told you to stop listening to save my anxiety problems from me. Please subscribe to another podcast so you can listen to that episode instead of this one. If you'd like to sponsor us, please don't. We don't need it for any purpose. No, do sponsor us. No one will be listening. So I'm not sure why you would, but you absolutely should. I'll take that money and I'll buy stupid stuff with it. I will buy more sweets. I will buy more cushions. I will buy more dogs than 0. So I'll have a dog. So that's why you should sponsor me. That's quite powerful pitch, actually, I think. This is to Squarespace, Drop Chef. Not Drop Chef. I mean Blue Apron. And this is to... Probably Drop Chef, actually. Yeah. I actually would have assumed that by buying a podcast microphone, we got a Squarespace sponsorship. Isn't that how it works? No, we got a different... We got a different thing for buying this podcast microphone. We got... what game was it? Watchmen 2? No, yes, but what's it actually called? Sorry, Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 2. We got a copy of Watch Dogs 2 for PC, which was expired. Yeah. So thanks so much for listening. Genuinely, if you've made this far, we appreciate it. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Brian's mom, realistically. And until next time, keep on Buffy. Buff those boys.